Hello everyone, my name is Sören. I am working at Deutsche Post DHL, the employee feedback team. I'm here with Pascal from Caplena. And the topic for today is using deep learning AI for high volume text analysis. Compared to the other topics of the past 2 days, my focus at the work that we're doing is completely away from customer. We're looking at employee feedback only. So where's the clicker? Here it is. What we'll be doing today is I will be quickly showing you what we are doing, how Caplena has supported us, and the insights that we were able to generate through the usage of AI text analysis. So that's the two of us. What are we doing at Deutsche Post DHL? So we are basically part of corporate center, and within the personal development team, we are responsible for the topics of employee engagement, employee feedback, and we're mainly serving people on the topic of employee engagement, but we're also responsible for broader topics of internal service satisfaction. So any topics related to employee feedback, really, be it HR satisfaction, global business function satisfaction. What we're also doing is program and initiative-related studies. One of the topics and one of the showcases that I'll be showing you is a diversity and inclusion study that we were doing this year. And the methods that we cover are really basically everything. So we do secondary data analysis, we do qualitative research, but we mainly focus on really large-scale quantitative feedback studies. And the topic that we always have as corporate is that due to the size of our organization with nearly 600,000 people, when we are serving everyone, we are always working with enormous masses of data. And we're continuously looking at solutions for quantitative feedback, for optimized reporting solutions, but we're also constantly looking for ways to further progress and optimize also the analysis of qualitative feedback. So it was really great to have some insights for this for this past 2 days. But that's actually why we were then going to Caplena, because we found there are ways of working and the way we could approach AI analysis through open comment analysis quite interesting. But I think Pascal will tell you a bit more about that.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Okay, good. Trying to speak a bit loudly so that everybody can hear. Well, for a starter, I'm no market researcher. Apologies for me being a bit technical. I'm a bit of a techie as a background. I did a lot of research in AI, in computer vision and natural language processing. And this is sort of where we come in to partner with clients to really sort of deliver AI solutions based on the latest deep learning technology. And this is what I'm passionate about. Sorry if I nerd out too much, but this is just what I do and love. Yeah, so we approach this problem of employee feedback or customer feedback in general as we looked at the current processes, how they're analyzed right now, like Excel or like a simple tool to essentially build a list of topics that you want to categorize it in, then assign it, and then visualize it. And this is three steps that we looked at separately, but obviously also holistically. And this is where we think we built, where AI can help in every step on this way to automate it further while still delivering the same level of quality that you had before. Yeah, so essentially what we're presenting today is mostly about step 2. So once you sort of defined your list of topics, how do you actually go through thousands of responses, how go through 10,000 or 100,000 to categorize them to really match the topics that you defined and are relevant for your business. And this is where also deep learning mostly comes in, and this is my specialty. What we did, also Maurice and I, my co-founder and I, in in our studies was really to develop a new kind of AI technology based on deep learning. Deep learning, very large field. You have heard so much today about artificial intelligence that you probably cannot hear anymore. But so I'm going to just talk about deep learning to make it easier on your ears. But essentially, every modern AI system that is truly, that you would also consider AI, not just like a rule-based system that deals with structured data, is leveraging deep learning. But what's a bit special about us is we actually really fine-tuned this AI for customer feedback and employee feedback. And how we did that was we started off with a dump of the entire internet. So we have like a file on one of our servers, entire internet. It's actually several files, but imagine like really the entire public internet text data is fed to our model to really understand language. And this is a key part that's often overlooked when you lose an open source tool or any other publicly available. You will get that already sort of out of the box, but it's usually on the wrong languages and with the wrong data. And we essentially pre-filtered that for really this context, which is really important. And obviously also included the languages that are relevant. It's not just, market research is not just in English. People tend to forget that sometimes. Yeah, and what we then do to really make it work for this specific purpose of analyzing any like feedback is to fine-tune it on feedback data. So this is texts plus the manual coding that people did on our platform already, or that we got from customers. And this leads to really the only way to accurately do the same thing as you would do with manual coding. So essentially the AI can learn to replicate manual coding, and this is what we do to really deliver high quality with high automation. And I think what is also really special is that it's not just a fixed AI, but it's moving. So when you open, you get our sort of step 2 AI, which is already pretty good for most cases. Like it has a lot of industry knowledge, etc. But then if you go a step further and actually do a bit of manual reviewing, you can correct mistakes. But because to be honest, every AI makes mistakes. There is no, also humans do, by the way. And this is really the way we think this is the only way to make this process deliver actual results by then fine-tuning this AI. So in the background, we launch big machines. We really go all the way to make this AI your AI for your specific purpose. This is where it really delivers the results. And yeah, this works pretty well, but it's not here. So it's not here as well. So it's not just you drop data and you get something out of it. That's what many text analysis solutions out there are actually doing. And this is what we believe is only very, very partially working for very simple cases. Employee feedback is definitely not a simple case, as is most customer feedback as well. But there is, if you invest a bit of time to like define a good hierarchy in your topics and in a good setup, then you can get really high automation with really, really high quality. And this is the approach that we also choose and think suits our customers best.
Is it me already?
Yeah.
No.
Sorry. Yeah, not only do you need an AI to sort of walk through all your data, as previous presenters already mentioned as well, AI is only part of it. There is like so much more. There's visualizing, storytelling. That's not essentially, the AI won't replace that yet. Maybe someday, who knows. But it's really key to have easy ways to visualize these results. And this is especially also important with big numbers. You cannot just send around a PowerPoint where you can filter for specific segments, which is really a key for such a large-scale study to be able to make it available for individual stakeholders. Sorry for the noise, but I'm just going to talk even louder now so that you don't hear this crackling. Yeah, so we think it's really important that data becomes readily available, not just dies in PowerPoint slides, which we typically saw with open ends. Either they were not even looked at, or they just...
I'll give you a backup.
Thank you very much. Now I need to adjust. Oh, okay, you turned off. Thank you. And yeah, so we really believe this is key, especially for such a large project. You need to be able to look at it by country, segment by segment. And yeah, this is also what we did together with Søren, who's going to explain a bit more.
Yes.
You're still working, right?
Okay. A bit of a background again for you, what we're usually doing internally and what we're going through when we have discussions about setting up open comment surveys and employee feedback surveys. Because for us, we always have this discussion, we have a three-step process when we're always discussing employee feedback surveys and the integration of open comments. And the two big factors that we usually have when we're discussing employee feedback surveys is one thing, how long does it take for the results to be delivered, how actionable are the insights, and how much money does it cost. And in the past, we always had this problem that whenever we were advertising for including open comments in surveys, because we feel like, especially when you're doing a lot of tracking surveys where the questionnaire remains the same for the fifth or the sixth wave, you have to kind of also give the employees the opportunity to also leave open comment feedback, because those 5-point Likert scale surveys with a 1 percentage point increase or decrease, they just sometimes then after a while have a limited just actionable insight for the manager at hand. But in the past we really had that topic that when we included open comments in the survey, the actually only deliverable that we then were able to deliver is basically an exercise of 20,000 comments to hand to the manager and to see, hey, have fun with it. Then we started to, of course, do some manual coding. We had people looking into Python libraries. But the key thing that we also have, that we always have to keep in mind is that we as corporate HR, we have a special responsibility, and that is regarding anonymity and confidentiality of the results. Because each and every comment that we are reporting on that has been given by employees, we really need that to be cleaned and to be scanned, whether there are names in there, whether there are possible crimes that we have to look into. So that is really a very, very elaborate step that takes a lot of time for us as HR to include open comments feedback into the surveys that we're conducting. And what we then thought, okay, the easiest way for us to leverage and to accelerate the reporting speed is really to look into artificial intelligence options to quick up that process of reporting, to increase the kind of actionability of the insights that we're creating, and to also have a kind of easy access, easy understandable tool for people to digest. And the case study that I want to quickly show you is a diversity and inclusion study that we did for one of our business units. We surveyed about 60,000 people in about 30 countries. So it's quite a big study, but we're also now doing the same thing with Caplena for our annual surveys that run with them all of the 600,000 employees. So we have scaling from 10 to 20,000 open comments up to more than 100,000 comments that we're processing in the different projects that we're doing. And for the diversity and inclusion study, we really have this objective to get an understanding that dives very deep into the details of how our employees are feeling regarding the topic of diversity and inclusion. Because diversity and inclusion is a very, very complex topic to survey and to get an understanding on, because the majority of people, a lot of people that are in our employee base, are not on their day-to-day life affected by issues relating to diversity and inclusion. So the quantitative feedback itself, when you look at it on an overall basis without any drill down, just has a very limited actionability, because if you look at the subjective reality of the respondents, you always have to keep in mind the kind of different social demographic backgrounds that the people are getting on. But especially with the open comment analysis that we did, and this is one of the extracts that I can show you, I hope you can see it sort of fine, is we used Caplena to really first as a get-go, get an understanding of what are the open common topics that have been mentioned. And we really had the impression, and we were really happy, because some of the topics that were quite frequently mentioned, and this is just a selection of the topics that we surveyed on, we gave the employees the possibility to collect and give feedback on topics that we necessarily couldn't ask in a survey. We were able to generate topics and insights that were far beyond the kind of standard 20-30 item questionnaire that we usually can ask, because we want to prevent survey fatigue. We don't want questionnaires to be too long, and then it's always about phrasing and cultural understanding of the different items that we're using. And with the open comment feedback that we had, we were actually really happy, because for the business unit that we were doing the study for, they really wanted to look at how can the topic of diversity and inclusion be improved, because that's a key driver for increasing employee engagement. And what we found out is what we're really happy with, and that we could also then really put into actionable follow-ups, is that we were looking a lot of the times about corporate agendas, about how can we as corporate, as an organization, increase diversity and inclusion topics, and help people improve the life that they're living at work, basically. But what it really trickled down to, and that was what was really great about the open comment analysis, is that it is about the direct manager, your daily interaction with your manager, and then also the kind of ways of working and the kind of expectation that senior leadership trickles down to the direct manager. And the direct manager is basically an access point for all of this topic of respectfulness, job promotions, equal treatment, but then also relating to topics like mental health, LGBTQ plus issues, employee well-being. And after this study came out, we were doing, we kind of had the quantitative results and dashboards and all of the reporting, but what it really trickled down to is the managers actually looking at the dashboards and really reading through the comments and engaging far more into the results that we haven't really seen before, because there's always this doubtfulness about, okay, what are we actually doing with open comments, because it's not just an Excel spreadsheet anymore. So, in total, what did we manage to do with AI? We managed to implement and increase the speed of reporting. We now have a dashboard functionality for reporting, where we can actually trickle down and drill down the results. And due to the quite complex organizational structure that we have, there's a lot of drill downs that you can do. And the possibility to decrease translation and analysis costs, because, as Pascal said, we are a multinational company, and we always have feedback of more than at least 30 or 40 languages in any of the studies that we're doing. So we need to support multicultural and multi-language feedback as much as possible. And the best turnout for us as employee feedback now is that now that we have solutions for a lot of upscaling of quantitative feedback and a lot of Python libraries and scripts that we are working with. But now that we have this AI-assisted analysis for open comments as well, we are really seeing that also this discussion about, are we implementing open common feedback? How many open commons should we really integrate into our surveys? The perspective of the management that we delivered those results to started to actually change because they now are really seeing this kind of unique selling point of what it means to really give employees open feedback, unrestricted, in the form of open commons, because you really can't capture a lot of the things with the topic that we had. The standard questionnaire just isn't doing it. So, and it's really great for us to see that also now other business units internally are starting to pick up open common topics and really feel like they have the need to implement that to really further generate insights that the business can really follow up on. Yeah, that's it from us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, do we have some questions, comments, observations? Quick question. When you showed some of the outputs, where there was obviously enormous amounts of data, the slide that looked a little bit like a wheel, is that something that you internally designed? Does it come directly from the Caplena?
No, that's from Caplena.
Okay. It's an interesting way of expressing, obviously, an enormous level of data.
Yeah, we've seen this in the machine learning community, and that's sort of where it comes from. I've never seen this in market research slides, but yeah, we come with stuff that we think is useful. Hope it also fits your needs.
And what kind of, so there's this use case. Are there other sort of applications that you can talk about with other businesses that you've worked with?
Sure, yeah. For example, I can talk about the tracking at eBay that we do. So we handle their tons of customer feedback from there, for example, or also other e-commerce providers that do a lot of transactional or survey-based feedback. Yeah, which is really can be challenging because you have many different parties involved. You have the buyer, the seller, and also the platform itself. So that's especially an area where a detailed analysis like we provide is great. And also employee, right? It's not just about DHL, it's also about the specific manager, and you have to disentangle what is about the manager and what is about DHL as a company, right? And yeah.
And at DHL, how challenging is it to get the business to support you in a decision to bring in an entirely new, emerging area of feedback?
That is basically one of the biggest challenges that we have all the time, because the bigger the organization gets, the more rigid the structures, the harder it is to really work towards innovation. But
sorry, talking to this mic.
Huh?
Yeah, apparently it's not working very well.
Okay. Basically, what we are always constantly looking for is ways to improve the reporting that we're doing, because a lot of the old kind of employee feedback structure has a kind of a negative connotation to it almost. You have those big employee engagement studies that everybody gets tired of, and nobody really feels like there's actually any change happening. Whenever we have the possibility to do that, we try to do it, but it sometimes is really hard to sell it, because we are a very number-driven organization, and there's a lot of doubt about qualitative feedback because it's soft feedback, but with the quantification, with AI analysis, we have a kind of a better position to sell it, because we now have numbers behind the qualitative feedback. Because a lot of the times those 20, 30 interviews, when managers then start to basically calculate the costs per interview, qualitative research gets really expensive all of a sudden, and the actionable insights are just very limited then for them. But it really helps to have a more kind of standardized and quantifiable process behind it.
Congratulations to you both. It sounds like a great partnership that's just going to continue to develop, and thanks for sharing so much with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.